So I'm just going to take you through assessment task 1. Okay, these are a series of written questions. So if you can just answer the following in 1 to 2 sentences unless it states otherwise. Okay, question 1, how can business technology applications or programs be used to schedule tasks and plan work? So this might be what are the things that you might use to help you plan your coursework, okay? And just maybe give us 2 or 3 examples of different things you might use to do that. Number 2, how do you use feedback to improve your performance? So what are the things you use? What are the things that are meaningful to you that can help be better at the task or the thing that you do the next time? Okay, again, just a couple of sentences. So number 3, when we've given you a hyperlink there, which will take you to the Nursing Midwifery Board. And using that link within there, there's a couple of documents we want you to look through. So they'll come up, you'll find them as PDFs or Word documents. And it's the Code of Conduct, the Nursing Code of Conduct, and the EN Standards for Practice. We want you to look through those documents and we want you to give us an example of a legal and an ethical situation that you might come across in nursing. Okay, and you'll either use your own experiences. If you're a PCW, you may have and be able to give examples of your own experiences and or examples we've talked about in class, or case studies that you may find that can show that you understand what a legal and an ethical situation might be in nursing practice. Okay. Number 4, so in an earlier online session, you will have done an activity that determines your learning style. And there's 3 different styles that this activity got you to identify as. So describing one of those 3 styles, which one are you? And then tell us how that learning style will impact the way you approach activities and learning on placement. How will that help you on placement with your what sort of approach will you take to taking on board new information using and knowing that learning style? Number 5, list 3 types of work methods and practices that you can undertake to help improve your performance. So we want you to tell me how you can be more efficient. Tell us how you can be more efficient at work. Okay, so you can, this can just be dot points of what makes you more efficient. Number 6, list and explain 3 different ways you can evaluate your performance. So an example of this might be writing in a journal. Okay, so we want you to tell us 3 different ways you can yourself, not earlier we asked you how do you use feedback, but how do you yourself undertake to evaluate your own performance? Okay. So now we're moving on to question 7. So we've provided 2 hyperlinks there, okay? And going into those 2 hyperlinks, we want you to, they're from, again, the Nursing Midwifery Board, and we want you to look through those hyperlinks and we want you to answer the following questions, okay? So letters A to G, okay? We want you to go into the 10 enrolled nursing standards for practice and we want you to tell us the key points. So what are the most important things in the 10 standards specifically relating to supervision and delegation, okay? What are in a few key points from the professional boundaries document? What are the professional practice guidelines? Tell us a few key points from that. The decision-making framework, what are a few key points from that? re-entry to practice and the mandatory requirements to re-enter nursing practice. What are the key things around re-entry to practice? The core registration standards. What are the key points of the core registration standards? With recency of practice and your requirements to maintain recency of practice, what are the key points in that? So then we can move on to question 8. We want you to define, these are pretty straightforward. We want you to define the following terms and then give us a reference of the following terms, and that's letters A to G. In question 9, again, they're describing and defining concepts. We want you to do that and then include the references. Question 10, define each of the following terms, legal terms. So again, it's just telling us what is civil law, and tell us where you got the reference from, okay? Be mindful in these ones that we want you to be keeping whatever defining that you're doing, you need to look for health related references, okay? What is number 11? What is the function of the coroner? And again, include where you found your source of your reference of what is the function of the coroner, and what rules surround giving evidence to the coroner. Question 13, when time planning on placement, describe how you would prioritise tasks and other techniques you would use to prepare your plan. Okay, so it's 2 parts here. So we want you to tell us how you would prioritise a task and then show us. So give an example of 5 to 7 tasks you may do on a nursing shift. So you might use all of the things you've learnt in lab so far, pick 5 to 7 tasks and tell us on a time plan which particular order you think they should be done in. Okay, and it tells us that you can plan your time and you can tell us which ones you would do first, which ones are more important to do first. Number 14, what methods do you use to identify and prioritise your own learning needs? Okay, so how do you work out what you need to learn and in what order? Okay, that makes sense of perhaps a concept. And how do you work out whether you need help or not with different things? Question 15, what strategies could you provide a client to better understand their own emotional and social well-being? So how would you talk to a client, a patient? What sorts of things would you do and say to understand how they're feeling and extrapolate out what emotional and social well-being might mean and what it means to them. Number 16, for each of the following, read over the objective of the following legislation, standard or legal provision. So you need to find whatever's listed, and then we want you to read about it and then tell us in your own words how that piece of legislation, standard or legal provision applies to nursing practice. Okay, so it's 2 parts to each letter. So what is it? What is the objective of it? And then how does it relate to nurses and nursing practice? And that's it for AT1.